And away we go. All right, we're recording. Welcome everybody. Wall Street Jesus here. Saturday sweep series. We are actually open to the public. So we got quite a few people from Twitter, StockTwits, maybe a couple from Facebook, the social media map. We got a lot of members on here as well. And for those of you who are new, just very quickly, what we do is we get together every Saturday. We talk about the three most important components to what we look at on a day-to-day basis. Sweeper activity, we want to know where sentiment's at as far as retail sentiment, have an idea where they're lined up, and we try to build a strategy around that. And every Saturday we get together, look over some of the information we got the prior week and what we could be looking, for in the following week, maybe some clues the market can give us out of flow, etc. Okay. I just want to throw out there at first, because I get littered with the questions during the webinar. If you are new, if this is the first Saturday sweep series, or you're just unfamiliar with a lot of the terminology, the strategy, you could go to wallstreetjesus.com, okay, and there is a strategy section, and nothing too fancy, but a shortcut to understand what the hell I'm talking about if you have intentions of, attending these webinars, okay? And then also we have a 3 free day trial, no credit card required, okay? You can get an idea of, what it's all about. 3 days. It's not a lot of time, but you get, I guess, the gist of what we're looking for on a day-to-day basis. And if you're interested in just private Twitter, aside from the chat room and that stuff, just private Twitter, you could go to the product section, private Twitter, and for $59.99 a month, you get just private Twitter. Okay. So if anybody's new, you have any questions, that's the best bet. Just go to the wallstreetjesus.com site. I'm sure you'll find your answers there. All right, let's get to the market. And it's incredible what, you say we would say it at the time. All right. And a lot of guys like myself, we're called perma bulls who have been in the game long enough. We were making comments that this cycle, okay, again, bear market correction, whatever label you want to put on it that we've been in, as ugly as it was looking at the time, okay, at some point, the bears, the shorts, are going to be the ones who get knocked out of this game. They are the ones who ultimately take the beating out of these type of phases. And the reason why, okay, what happens is bulls, they get cautious, as they should be, okay, in a correction or a bear market, right? You don't see many things working. You're littered with negative news all over the place. So what a lot of bulls do, they'll just move to the sidelines, move into cash, right? Take whatever lumps they got, hold on to whatever they want to hold on to. And for good reason, they get cautious. And that's the smart thing to do. Okay, that's the smart thing to do. You've heard me say many times throughout this whole cycle, there's no reason to try to get cute. All right. If you're frustrated, you're unsure, you don't have the confidence, okay, don't worry about missing the bottom, nailing the bottom. Okay, take a small amount. You can roll the dice with that, play nice and easy, but there's no reason to get lumped up. Okay, and eventually, as this plays out, like going into Christmas Eve, and again, it had probably a lot to do with the holidays, nobody around, and it just magnified things because there was no buyers to be found. You had an all-out liquidation phase, okay? And at that point, like I said, the bulls, for the most part, are just standing back and watching with the eyes. But it's the bears that get, right, the shorts that get fired up, the shorts that get reeled in, the shorts that think, this is a bear market, and this is the first bear market or correction, real correction that they've traded through. So they're the ones that start loosening up and getting sloppy, at the same time getting aggressive. And then this happens. Okay. And this, in my opinion, this is the most difficult part about shorting in this type of environment. Okay. Because you can get tactical and you can short in between, right? You can intraday, you can play some puts, you can nice and easy play some puts overnight, swing positions, and try to make some money. Okay. But the allure, the reason bears get excited is because they want to make that score. They want to be involved when the bottom falls out. They want to be a part of Armageddon. And throughout the course of my career, okay, and you guys have heard me say this over and over again, I don't know personally, not one player in this game that's gotten to the next level or has made it. We like to use the word, make it in this game on the short side. Not one. Okay. Now we know of certain people, certain players out there, like a Chanos and stuff like that, who have found success on the short side. Okay. Nobody ever wants to discuss how they're extremely hedged and protected and they're not aggressive on the short side as you may think. But we know some bears out there that have, gotten to the next level in this game being a bear. All right. But I don't know anybody like us, okay, or like I said, who I've run through the course of my career run into, who's gotten to the next level on the short side. All right. And the reason being is because of what we're just witnessing right here. All right. The news is as negative, in my opinion. Okay. The fundamentals are as bad as we've ever seen. The earnings, more than likely, as we go through this earnings season, there's nothing good going to come out of it. We're going to start to hear all the reasons, okay, why this bear market tornado was shredding things left and right. All right. But you reach a point, okay, where things become factored in. Okay, things become factored in. And all of a sudden you get that turn, right? And you sprinkle in some good news off a trade war like we're getting now, right? There's no agreement. There's just that optimism all of a sudden that something may materialize out of the negotiations with China and stuff like that. Where even more importantly, I think one of the better signs of the market, forget the trade war and all that stuff. Nobody and their mother can predict what Trump is going to pull out of his rear end these days. Okay. You have things rallying on bad news. Okay. Remember we were talking about that. Remember as we started to see bad news and warnings and the Apple news and all that stuff. There's going to be a point in time where the market says, okay, we know about all this. This is why we took the market down like we did. This is why we took prices down to these levels. This is old news. And the market's now looking ahead, just like they were looking ahead 3 to 6 months ago. The market starts looking ahead now 1 to 2 quarters forward. And they say to themselves, okay, is this the worst that we're going to see? Okay, is there a bottom in negativity? And when you start to see names rally on bad news, that's what the market's trying to tell you. All right. And that's what we're seeing right now. That doesn't mean that the market and prices will never go down again, even though it looks like it right now. All right. But we're going to start to see the total opposite of what we were seeing all the way up until recently. Okay. And that is weakness will get bought. Negative news will get bought. All right. And what's interesting too is you may even see some names that held up well, all right, that actually report good news, let's say out of earnings, and they may get sold off. Okay, they may get sold off. Right, there's so many examples. Paul's talking about like an SWKS. Look at the banks this week. Okay, you look at the banks. Every single Citigroup came out. I read the paragraph headline on the earnings that you would have thought the stock got killed. Rip. Okay. Morgan Stanley, first bad quarter in God knows how long. Stock was down a bit. You would think they take down the banks with it. All the banks rip right through it. You look, there was another name. Oh, PPG. This thing was the poster child, okay, to the trade war and everything else eaten up at their numbers. Chemical name. They reported a quarter you would have threw up all over. That's how bad it was. Awful. Stock was up $5. Up $5 on the awful quarter. PFD's talking about SWKS. Same thing. Same thing. All right. The home builders. Remember, Lennar said, we're not even going to give guidance. That's how bad this quarter and things are right now. And the stock was up. Okay. So when you start seeing that, that doesn't mean each and every name that reports bad news is going to see the same reaction, but those are the clues you want to start looking for, okay, for signs of a bottoming process. All right, because in my opinion, I think, again, this is just from past corrections and bear markets. What happens is you start to see the groups, the names that this bear market tornado ripped apart first start to show signs of bottoming. And that's when you know that the overall environment may be starting to turn. All right, so again, it was a rolling bear market, right? That's something we were talking about throughout the summer, a rolling bear market. It didn't start in October. The indices, the bear market started in October. For a lot of tech, it started in October, right? The stuff that was holding up well. But casinos, that was started long before October, right? Remember SGMS started long before October, all right? So these are the names and groups that have to show some signs of bottoming first, and they're more than likely going to do it on negative news. And that's what we need to keep an eye on out of this earnings season, okay? But so my point being, anyhow, before we got a bunch of names we could get into, all right? Because like I said, there's action in a lot of names, but more importantly, there's earnings in a lot of names. So we can keep an eye on every single one of these things into earnings and see how they react and what flow comes in. All right. But the point I was trying to make is now this is the tough part about shorting here. Okay. Because nobody comes in right here and starts shorting. All right. They come in here and then they add and then they add. And what happens is it adds fuel to the rally. Those shorts get squeezed, right? Then the newer shorts get squeezed. It's almost like shorts are constantly getting squeezed, and you get a move like this with no pullback, unfortunately. And for us bulls, that sucks, right? You don't want to chase. You want healthy pullbacks. You want to see if buying comes into the pullback. But this is, in my opinion, this is still part of that initial squeeze of those shorts that got caught all in here. All right. And what we're hoping for, and you guys remember, we've been talking about this now for over a week. And look, I still got the red line here from that Niner of what we're looking for. We're looking for something similar to this. Okay. It doesn't have to be exactly this. This is just me drawing lines like a 2-year-old. What I mean is this market's going to be tested. Okay. There's going to be profit taking. There's going to be shorts trying to, again, catch that intermediate top, thinking new lows. There are bulls that think we're going to test lows, and they're bulls. Okay. So there's going to be a point in time when we get that pullback. It may end here, may very well come down and test those lows, but at some point in time throughout that course of that pullback, we are going to see buying come in, and that will tell us, that'll ultimately tell us that this is different than everything we've been seeing. Okay. From what it looks like now, this is a pretty broad rally. Some of the stuff that never rallied throughout any of these bumps has been rallying and squeezing with this rally. Okay. So it looks good, but the true test, we don't get the answers now. We get it on weakness. All right. So that's what I'm excited for, but at the same time, get impatient. Okay. Because you could see the last 2 days, Thursday and Friday, a lot of people, we could say, oh, I'm just going to sit and wait for a pullback and not do anything. If you come in each and every day, right, and you're watching the daily ticks flow, the squeezes, the band of sweeper activity coming in, it's not easy to just sit there and miss these opportunities, even on an intraday level. Okay, like Friday, for example, right before that China headline came out, we saw just a band of sweeper activity, call sweepers just come in and start going boom, 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 buying things. We thought it was just a little buy program or something. We had no idea where it was coming from. They were front running that China headline, which nobody even knows if true what the hell's going on there. And then you get this massive squeeze, which could be extremely profitable on an intraday time frame. So again, you got algo squeezing, you got a lot of stuff here that's creating a lot of momentum. Okay, but big picture wise, the answer to all our questions that we're dying to get, all those questions on whether this is going to be a high on low scenario, an uptrend that goes further, is this the end and we roll over and test lows, that's going to come into weakness. Okay, that's going to come into weakness, and we can't forecast it, because here's just another example I want to give to you. All right, because like the bears do, they hear bear market, they think easy peasy, just short, and you're going to make money. But here's the thing, even if we know, okay, even if the market gods came to you in your sleep and told you we were going to go test lows, okay, you think we're going to go from here to here in one straight line and test lows? Come on, right? So that's what a lot of like bears think, or even bulls. They think we're just going to go, if we're going to test lows, we're going to go from point A to Z, whoop, test lows and get it over with and get our answer. That's not going to happen. What's likely to happen is you get a pullback from here, right? Then some buying comes in. You get a couple-day rally. Then you get another pullback, right? Thinking, oh, we're going to roll over test lows. Then another squeeze. So these are the things you have to be prepared for ahead of time. All right. And it's something you can't forecast, in my opinion. And that's where I think sweepers will play a big part. If we see the same exact sweeper activity we're seeing now come into these pullbacks, they're more than likely going to be supported, and there's going to be some up move, some rally out of it. Right? The stronger the action, the higher the probability that may be a intermediate short-term bottom, we can swing out of. All right. The moral of the story here is that it's very difficult to forecast, even if you have that information ahead of time, that we're on the verge of testing lows. My gut tells me this market's going to get punched in the face. It usually does one more time. It's going to get hit with some bit negative news. Okay. Who knows where it could come from? There's a lot of spots it can come from. Sellers are going to grab the ball. Okay. You're going to see some put sweeper activity. It's going to look like the same thing we were seeing throughout the correction. and then that's where buyers are going to pick your spot and come in. And that would be the telling sign. All right. So that's what we need to keep an eye out for and look for clues for from here going forward. In the meantime, as this ridiculous squeeze continues, there's no reason, like I said, there's no reason to just step aside if you like some stuff out there to take advantage of for a short-term squeeze. Just understand that the probability is at some point there's going to be some selling that comes in, and you don't want to get caught in a big way. All right. If you can day trade, the quicker you can be, the better off you are right now. All right. You're not going to make as much money as if you got involved in a swing and gave it, 2 weeks and caught the up move. All right. But you're going to have a lot less risk exposure at the same time. All right. So we want to be nimble here, but at the same time, we want to be involved. What I'm also hoping for, okay, and this has been another frustrating part about this squeeze. Usually what happens when a market squeezes like this off the lows, you get a bum rush into the leaders. Okay, the high beta names, the FANG names, the big tech names, ETFs. And then what happens as that rally gets a little too hot, it starts to, the flow starts to spill over, the buying starts to spill over into the underbelly. Right? The underbelly, under the radar names, or names that, just have been lagging in general. That didn't happen during this type of squeeze. Everything squeezed. Everything. I mean, it's to the point now where if I see a name, like, for example, I'll give you an example. SFIX, right? You see a name that didn't squeeze as hard off the lows start to catch flow, and I'm getting all excited thinking, all right, maybe there's enough juice here for this one because it's been lagging a bit, right? Or an IGT, which will go over the action on Friday. And again, the point is you're not looking for that big move. If you get lucky and happen to step on it at this point in the rally, you're happy, okay? But like for me, I could have swung IGT, all right, and I think it was worth the swing off that action. It was worth the risk, but the day trade was pretty decent. The day trade was pretty decent, and I don't have to take the risk of running into, just even a normal pullback next week. Right? See, that's the option you got to weigh there for yourself. Okay, that's the option you got to weigh there for yourself. But at the same time, if you can take advantage of intraday stuff, I think these are the type of players that are still out there. There's not too many of them. Right. Paul is talking about WTW. That was another one Friday. Look, just it hasn't squeezed at all yet. You see some flow, and again, even if you day traded it, you caught a real nice move here. So for the longer term stuff, in other words, the intermediate term stuff, in my opinion, we need some selling. Even if it's not a lot of selling, we need some selling, right? Similar to what I drew here, just to test buyers and see where they're at. Okay, because that's what they like to do. Sellers, they're gonna come in. There's gonna be some profit taking. There's gonna be some selling. You're gonna see reversals. What you're gonna see is, some of the bigger names that have been squeezing hard, like, I don't know, Facebook or Nvidia. Some of these things have really had nice runs, and you're gonna see those reversals. So in other words, you're gonna see, let's say, gap up Monday, Facebook up 2. All of a sudden, you don't look at Facebook for an hour, she's down $2-3. Okay, that's what you're going to see. And the answer to the question is, when do buyers come in on that weakness? When do they come in? Do they come in? Maybe they come in early in the reversal. We've seen that before. Maybe they come in early. and they hold Facebook up. And you can even have a decent short-term trade out of it. We don't know that information, but it has to get tested with sellers first. These things haven't at all. I mean, you look at some of these things, they've been up nicely, basically in a straight line. Yeah, this is, I think the whole move so far in general is squeeze. Okay, the whole move is squeeze. This has just been going on longer than some of the other rallies we've been seeing. You see, like this here, back here, that's similar to what we're seeing. This is just more broad and has been longer and more powerful. Okay, but this is where you get the answers on these polls. A lot of times you have the luxury of this. Okay, you get a squeeze, and then here's where it gets tested with selling, and then you see the higher low, right? And that ultimately you start getting the answers you want, right? Then you start seeing some sort of uptrend there. We haven't had that. In other words, this part of the rally has been stretched, but for good reason, guys. Look what we came out of. We had a Christmas debacle. We had a lot of people shorting, thinking easy money. Not even into the lows. What happened was shorts after this rally here, they thought this was the opportunity. See right here? You know how many people were looking to short any sort of bump up off this? Okay. And now at this point, right? Think about this and just listen to other traders. Try to think back on Twitter or even traders even the bullish of bulls out there, okay, the most bullish bulls out there want a pullback. Everybody wants a pullback, okay? And when everybody wants a pullback, the likelihood is people are positioned for a pullback. So you got tactical bulls that are shorting. You got bears that are shorting. Bulls and bears both think the market or feel like the market's going to pull back. And that's where you get just this continuation. All right. As shorts continue to get squeezed here. And I'll also, PFD, I'll show you another chart that you won't believe it, but it's believable these days. To just even prove the point that this market's squeezing and there's not total belief in it. There's not a lot of belief in this rally right here. Okay, there's not a lot of belief. All right, so that's the game plan, in my opinion, especially for us, in the steam room on private Twitter every day. Weakness is the opportunity for us, okay? No matter what, we see decent sweeper activity come into weakness. We have to look at that as an opportunity, all right? Whether it's a short-term opportunity or the bigger pullback we get, an intermediate term opportunity, any sweeper activity into weakness is telling us a different story because of what we've been seeing. All right, here's now the sentiment front, and that's another thing, okay? Sentiment, there's no doubt sentiment right now was extremely bearish here and is bullish here. There's no doubt about it, okay? Even based on just price action, you know that. But what we've been seeing on the sentiment side, stuff like the squeezometer, and for those of you who don't know what the squeezometer is, that's one of the intraday indicators we look at, all right? The squeezometer will get hot at the highs, right? So if you guys remember on Friday, the squeezometer up here got into the red, okay, the red zone. And believe it or not, that was the first time in this rally because of the fades that we've been seeing. Okay, then you get something like this, and all of a sudden, because everybody's so cognizant, everybody's so aware of a pullback, expecting a pullback, that bulls get nervous, bears want to short. So even though this doesn't look like much, on the sentiment front, on an intraday time frame, it does a decent job of washing out that exuberance, at the least that exuberance. All right, so that's the opportunity we've been talking about. If you guys know in the room, on these fades, when you see that band of sweeper activity, that band of buying come in, that's the intraday trade right there, right? Those are the trades we want. We don't want to chase into the heat. We want to take advantage of when the bulls start to get nervous, bears start to get reeled in, but the sweepers are still playing the call side. All right. So what I'm trying to get at with the squeezometer, which is an intraday sentiment indicator, we're seeing that bulls are being kept at check thanks to fades and choppiness and that fear of a pullback, where some of the end of day readings are bullish. Okay, they're showing us that the crowd is bullish as the big picture. And let me show you what I mean by that. We go over some of them just so you get an idea where some of them are at. All right. So this is basically just an overall summary of where we're at. All right. The squeezometer, we're at 62. Okay. That's above neutral, not in the red zone. The red zone is, what is it, 70, I think? Okay. We were in the red zone into the highs in the afternoon. The end of the day short-term sentiment indicator, okay, members know what I'm talking about there. We are in the red zone. So that's telling us that there's a higher probability of a pullback at some point and is likely going to wash out any grind gains from this point. Okay. Nova Ursa, you guys know this one. Okay. I love this indicator. And you can see, look, the market has done nothing but go straight up, right? And look how they're moving money around concerned about the pullback, right? Okay, all in bullish for the squeeze. Uh-oh, we're going to pull back from here. There's no pullback in the market, mind you. So it's not price action they're moving money around for. It's just the emotion. All right? So they're all in. Then they think the rallies come too far. We're likely to roll over, test lows. Let's get back to neutral. Then the market extends rallies. Again, all in. Then let's get back to neutral because we'll probably roll over from here. So that's the emotion out there right now, which has been confusing a lot of people. All right, here are some of the put to calls. All right, I kept it simple here because we got a lot of people on Twitter and stuff like that. So I don't want to get too complicated. Members will go over the other stuff. Equity put the call. All right, so you got fear at the bottom, and then you could see whoop one side to the other. Here's where we are right now. Okay, so that's pretty low. I don't feel comfortable about holding a basket of swing longs when this thing is down here. I'm not going to lie to you. Hence why I'm trying to be quick and mostly stay intraday for the most part. This is more of an intermediate term put the call. All right, so the movement's not as drastic. Again, you could see extreme fear into the lows as you would expect. Washed out, not necessarily in caution territory yet. Here's the total put the call. Again, extreme fear. It rarely gets into the red zone. But when you start seeing an 8 handle, again, you want to be what it's telling us is that if the market wants to catch some bulls, it's got them. Okay, it's got them. That's what a lot of these indicators are telling us. Okay, that's what a lot of indicators are telling us. Same thing. This is more of an intermediate time frame, extreme. Now we're back to neutral. So not to jump around, that's what I wanted to add to this. Okay. You see, put the calls bearish, in my opinion. Intermediate term. If you guys remember, we were talking about on several webinars that the one thing that I was hanging my hat on as far as being a bull, the one thing was that not only the short-term indicators were extremely bullish even early as the market was liquidating through it, okay, into Christmas Eve. But intermediate term, a lot of intermediate term sentiment indicators were at extreme levels, and there was basically every intermediate term indicator I look at was at extreme levels. I haven't seen that since 2008. Okay. I haven't seen that many line up in extreme territory like that since 2008. So there had to be some sort of squeeze that comes out of it. Otherwise, there was something systemic at play, and we got to get into our bunkers and hide. All right. So the good thing about that is, even though we got a squeeze like we just did, they're still favorable, meaning they're not in extreme territory, right, where they were at the bottom, but they're not that far away. And a lot of them are still bullish, okay, because there's still that lingering fear out there. So if we do get some sort of breather here, some sort of pullback, that's a great sign, in my opinion, that this rally may have more left in the tank. Okay. And what this tells you too, the intermediate term indicators, not only time frame, but it also will give you an idea of how are shorts still willing, are the bears still willing to short this market, right? Any little whiff of negativity or bad news, when you see a favorable intermediate term sentiment view, that tells us that the bears are still, they still want to participate. And you want that, okay? Because once you start losing the intermediate term sentiment in your corner, that's when things can start to unravel and go south again. And I gave you guys the example in 2008. The indicators lit up green, all of them with the intermediate term, and then there was a nice, I showed you guys on the chart, a decent rally, okay, a decent rally. And then what happened, all these intermediate term indicators all ended up going beyond neutral. Some even signaled caution. And then lo and behold, market rolled over, and that was D-Day. That was the end. All right. So we want to keep this favorable. We want to see a pullback, right? Even get some of these shorter term indicators in good shape. And then we get sweeper activity into that. That's the mix we're looking for. All right. It may sound like a lot, but it's not a lot to ask for. There was one more thing, sentiment, before we start talking. This is, again, you can pull this off CBOE. You got a 5 handle on the equity, put the call. You don't want to see 5, and you don't want to see 8. Okay, that's just, when you see that, keeping it simply, when you see that stuff, you got to be careful holding positions. Okay, that's the thing, because it could sneak up on you. And I reiterate, that's why I'm saying, if you can be tactical, you know, and if you have the luxury of keeping your eyes on things here, there are still some decent juice out there. All right. Anybody have any questions on any other sentiment side before we get into some names? And I'm actually for the first time in a long time looking forward to talking names with you guys. Okay. Because I don't know about you guys. I'll be honest with you. Prior, even the squeezes of the past, okay, we've had squeezes. I haven't had my eyes on as many names as I do now throughout any of those rallies. All right. And that's what's just got me feeling a little more bullish about the overall picture. Okay. It's got nothing to do with SPY or the market. And honestly, I think there may be an opportunity, even as the overall market maybe languishes or chops around, that under the hood, it can become a stock picker's game again. Okay. And that's a good thing, because even if we're in a bear market, right? If there's more to go, I told you guys that when the NASDAQ bubble blew up, you had that liquidation phase like we had, okay? And then what happened, there were sectors and individual names while everybody and their mother was staring at the tech names, there were sectors and the under the hood names that were outperforming the market and where you could have made a lot of money. So while everybody was, oh, bear market, not paying attention, there were, in my opinion, it was an easier market than I've ever experienced throughout my career. Okay, because it stood out. It was obvious. So this, we may enter a phase like that, and that's as well why I'm a little bit excited. Yeah, DeMarc sell. We got Niners on the daily a couple days ago, MJ, that we actually ran through. Yeah, 2 days ago, right here. So those of you who aren't familiar with DeMarc, he was actually on Bloomberg, MJ, for the Niner. He came on Bloomberg TV. So basically, he was saying that he thinks the DeMarc, I think it's after you see the 9, I think it's up to 4 days where you get a top, right? You see like these diamonds here, the count didn't start. So you got 4 days where you should see a top. And he thinks that is going to be the case. He thinks we're going to top out within a week. And like many out there, test the lows. At the least, test the lows. That's a lot. Even some of the bulls that are legit. I'm not talking about the Tom Lees of the world and stuff like that. Mike Wilson, I posted the link on private Twitter in the room. Most of you who are members know who I'm talking about because we spoke about it time and time again. Mike Wilson, I think he's Morgan Stanley, has pretty much nailed this whole entire market from day one. And I'm not talking about through the correction here. As this market was rallying, he was telling everybody to pay attention to the rolling bear market that was taking place. So he came on Fast Money. And as the mopes on Fast Money were talking about, oh, Facebook keeps going higher. Look at this. Look at Netflix. Mike Wilson was saying, there's a rolling bear market right now. Okay. It's starting with cyclicals. Look at that group. The casinos, they're next. Look at that group. And he said back then, tech, it will be the last and the indices will be the final one. And it worked out to a T. So now he's pretty much talking about what we've been talking about. He just put a note out. That's what I posted for you guys. He says a rolling bull market now. Okay. So what he's calling for is test the lows. And what you're going to see the stuff that got hit first start to show bottoming signs first. And you're going to have that rolling bull market grind on the way up. All right. What got hit first, MJ? The cyclical names, the financials, emerging markets, energy, semis. Good call, Trey. Semis, they're already acting better, if you ask me, right? Cyclical name. What's a cat, right? Cat. What's another? I'm trying to think of a good one she might know. The semiconductors, MJ. Yeah, URI. These were all the first MJ that got destroyed. You were in the room. We were talking about these names. There were a ton of them. Yeah. URI. So here's an example. Let's say you like URI here, right? You're saying URI, fits that bill perfectly. Here's my point. You have earnings coming up on the 24th. That's the perfect day to keep an eye on this thing. Okay? Because there's a strong possibility it ends up down pre-market, opens up, off the lows, and you see this thing reverse higher. There's a very good possibility that happens. Just like that PPG chemicals, That's another one, MJ, chemicals, that got hit early. MKC, which one's that? MKC. I get that confused with the insurance one. McCormack, okay. I was looking for that symbol, because somebody was asking me about it, and I gave him McKesson. You know what? Mohawk. Where's Mohawk? MHK. Look at this one. Okay, here you go. There's no better example than Mohawk. I'm sorry. Look at this. Look at this. Okay, here's the beginning of the year, right up here. All right, beginning of the year. And as right, the market was rallying, FANG was rallying, everything looked pretty. Tech. Look what they did to this thing, man. I can't believe, like, this is a legitimate company, right? Mohawk is not no fly by night, growth name gone tomorrow. This thing is a legit name. And they got tattooed. All right. So here you go. No, not a niner to help. Nothing was helping this thing. This is the final capuche. Look at this. Gap down, gone. And okay, so here's your example. This earnings here, that was the last quarter. You see what the stock did? Massive gap down. Massive. Here now, you got earnings coming up in February 7th. It's a must watch on earnings here. Must watch. Look what they did every quarter. Gap down, gap down. They destroyed this thing. This will tell you, in my opinion, whether all the bad news, and I guarantee you it's going to be a disaster this quarter. This quarter is going to be worse than even the ones they gap down huge on. You will have an answer to a question if it's factored in or not. Again, that news. So, yeah. Well, if you're going to roll the dice into earnings, you got to be careful with, here's the ones you got to be careful about. Team, okay? And this shocked me because this was up huge. But I guess I don't know what happened, but you got to be careful with these names here because IV is through the roof. They are expecting good news. And if you get anything, mediocre on the earnings side, and there's a possibility based on the rest of the economy we're seeing, you can get these reversals or selling off the number. So you got to be careful. Like, a lot of people will flock to the stronger stuff, but you got to be careful with earnings because there's a lot of good factored in, and their earnings may not be that good. Okay, so that's what you got to watch out for. The worse it looks, the better. The stuff you wouldn't touch with gloves, that's the stuff you want to keep an eye on for, signs of bottoming. The banks were a perfect example. Yeah, MJ, in my opinion, MHK, there is no better candidate than that. Like, this is going to be the true test, in my opinion. This has been the worst of the worst. This has been a disaster. A disaster. Yeah, airlines, Ani, here's what this is something I'm starting to develop now because I get asked airlines. I've lost money in airlines. I hate the airlines. Here's my answer to every airline question, okay? If you want to make a play on any airline, let's say you want to buy Delta, right? Here's my rationale. Instead of buying Delta, pretend you hit the wrong button and hit UAL instead of DAL, okay? Hit UAL instead of DAL. You buy that one, and I can almost guarantee you're going to save yourself some money. So if you're looking at any other airline and you like it, just buy UAL. Trust me. Yeah, there's not even, you can't even compare them. You can't even compare them. Now, I'm not saying UAL just goes up and there'll never be a pullback, but it will do better than the others. the Delta and the AAL. I'll tell you that much. You know what I mean? That's the point I'm trying to make. So let's say you're looking at AAL, right? And you're like, oh, that looks good. Just buy UAL instead. And if they go up, the chances are UAL will go up even more. You know, so that's my answer. I mean, these airlines have been tough for a long, long time. They're really, really tough. You know, they're really, really tough. All right, so basically, you guys want to talk stocks? I don't blame you. Let's talk stocks. Okay, let me pull up the little sweeper report thingy. I was telling MJ, everybody on private Twitter and in the room, I post a link. And this is what you guys, a lot of you have been asking for. I've been meaning to do. This is just basically a WordPress site and, you know, blog on names, on sentiment, on stuff like that, instead of spamming the room or private Twitter. All right. So you can actually go back and catch up on it if you weren't around at the time. Here's the Sentiment Trader hedge fund thingy. This is what I wanted to show you, PFD. Ready? Hedge fund participation. Now, the problem is this thing's not up to date. Remember, I was telling you guys there's always a lag? There's no lag. That's why I got this on here today. No lag. This is up to the day right now. We are right here. Yep. That's pretty scary, right? That's pretty scary. Scary in a good way. Scary in a good way. All right. So there's two things I take out of that, right? Instantly you come out with the chase where you're like, wow, if this market just gets away from them, you might have a crazy chase. That's the first thing, the obvious thing. Okay. That's obvious. But what I also take out of it is that any weakness now seeing, like, think about this, right? You're a hedge fund. You just saw this squeeze. You don't want to chase it because you feel like an idiot. The first pullback, what are you going to do? Right? They're going to buy the daylights out of it. That's my takeaway from this. Any pullback in the market from here, and that's why I think there's a good possibility we see legitimate sweeper activity into a pullback. Any pullback, I think that these guys will have to buy. Whoever's still in business, that's the problem. Okay? Whoever's still around, because a lot of them blew up. Yeah, exactly, Paul. Whoever's still around and they want to stick around, they can't sit down here and have the market grind higher. They won't be around long. You know? Right? They won't be around long. Like you, Paul, you know, we joke about the hedge funds used to be smart money, blah, 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 and all that. I don't know if it's bad luck. You know, you need luck in this game. You talk about bad breaks they've caught. Think about this, okay? You had a bunch of funds, like, and they are considered smart money. They got out of tech and all hot growth, high PE names at the top, okay? At the top. But you know what they went into? I saw on the list, they went into utilities, which was the smart thing, and their number one position was PCG. Can you imagine? That's bad luck, man. That's bad luck. Come on. I swear to God, Paul. Go look. I swear. Like, that's bad luck. You can't say they made the wrong move. Because utilities, if you bought utilities and shorted tech, you know, at the highs of the market, you'd be in great shape. Okay? But you try to get, right, that alpha, you go to one of the good names. PCG was a great name to try to catch some alpha out of, and They got caught with the fires. Nothing. I mean, they're stuck. I'm sure. What were they gonna do? They got destroyed. They got beat up. Yeah, there was a whole article about it. A lot of hedge funds. A lot of hedge funds. But come on, that's bad luck, right? You have to admit, as much as I like to make fun of them, whatever, that's just bad luck. That's why even when you're right in this market, you may end up wrong. And not to sound corny, but you have to manage risk, because things like this can happen, and you're not going to be happy about it, but you got to be prepared for it, no matter what. You may not even see it coming. You may think it's a bull market, and you step into one of these scenarios where you made the right move, and you got screwed, and there's nothing you could do about it. Yeah, well, MJ, if you remember, MJ, we had a whole discussion about that. Okay, that's called investing. That's investing, MJ. You know what I mean? MJ's talking about buying when, in these type of climates, and sort of like dollar cost averaging in, right? More weakness, you add to it and leave it alone. Of course, that's a great way of making money over the course of your lifetime. But that's investing. That's not trading. Yeah, it's too boring for you, MJ. You should do it. You could do it in your kid's account. You know what I mean? Where you can't touch it and stuff like that. But you're not going to entertain yourself. How are you going to entertain yourself? Oh, stop crying poverty. You got more money than God. You wouldn't be spitting out kids like a machine. All right. So let's get to some of the names here. Okay. I've been looking forward to this. All right. So that's the hedge fund chart. Paul, did I tell you like that? You like that one, right? The hedge fund chart? All right. So something to keep an eye on. What else we got? Let me get back to some of the names here. Okay. And then I'll get to your names. All right. Here's just some of the action that caught my eye. You guys don't understand. If I had sentiment on my side right now, I probably would have 6 positions deep. All kidding aside, I'm not lying to you. Throughout the course of the last couple of weeks here, but unfortunately, I haven't. All right, this Zio, you guys know, I've been talking about this. How do I make this smaller so you guys see like this? Oh, here we go. Can you see that now? That's better, right? ZAYO. All right, I've been talking about this name for a while because there's been some sharp activity, and throughout the correction, there wasn't that much sharp activity. Zio was one of the few. So they bought this gap down here, had a little bump up, nice bump up. I shouldn't say little, with some news, and then into the liquidation. One of the few things to see buying was this Zio. And look, she had a real nice day Friday, nice rally here. All right, you can't do much. You can't do much with it now. I don't even know why I threw it in there. I guess just giving you guys an update on what took place. But a real nice move over the past couple of days, and that's the weekly chart, which looked good. Okay, here's a name from Friday. Tiffany. I'll tell you, crazy. I day traded this off the put sellers, Tiffany, and I took a loss. Don't ask me how. I looked at the chart. I think I got robbed by a market maker or something. I don't know how I lost money, but I remember it not doing much, and I took a loss. I don't know how. Okay. So this is what happened. Tiffany, you had bad news. Again, perfect example, guys. Look, Tiffany was awful news. Awful news. Okay. Then they came out with, I think it was same store sales, whatever retail does. Stock was down that day, reversed, and then follow through on Friday. And they were selling puts. So look at what I did. I don't know if you guys paid attention to the reaction of put sellers, but look at this. It was up on the day, like the market, and I got in over here somewhere and stopped, just pulled the plug, I guess, because it didn't do anything. And look what happened after I got out of it. So look at the window where I lost money. This is where I bought. I lost money in here somewhere. Impossible. Impossible to do. Okay. But somehow, some way, Friday, I lost money in the midst of that sweeper wave that came in. I was dizzy, so God only knows what the hell I did. All right. But Tiffany, let me get back to this thing. Tiffany, here's what they were doing. They're selling out of the money made puts. All right. Good sign. Again, it's tough to get a gauge on the upside when you see that. Okay. But a good sign to put in a short-term bottom at the least for now. And when you get that sweeper wave come in on an intraday basis, that's why I played it. I thought there'd be some upward momentum. I didn't make money with it, but it came later on. All right, so here's the daily chart. Here's another name. Now, I love this name off sweeper activity. Love it. Love Shack. That's what I call it. But you had Junes. All right, so they went out a little bit further than you would like. So this is more of a swing, and you got to have patience with it. Problem is hot sentiment. You know the deal, okay? But they come in on Friday after sweeping the June calls. I think it was Thursday, and they add to them. All right, June 55 calls. Here's a chart there. I'll pull it up on the big one so you get an idea. June 55, 275. Here's what she looks like overall. Now, this used to be a hot stock. Not many people talk about it, traded it, I don't know why. But I like that chart I love. Okay? So this is what I'm looking for at this point. All right? I don't want to play Facebook anymore. I played Facebook enough. I'm done with it. Even though it's been going higher, I haven't played it for basically the whole week, second half of the week. I haven't played off any Facebook action. What I'm looking for now are names like this Shack. Okay, you see? This thing already, nice squeeze, niner, breather time, had a little breather. This is what we want the market to do. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I figured, MJ. I mentioned it when the action came in that I like the action, but I don't know if the options are liquid enough, That's the problem with these under the hood names. But basically, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, this is the ideal thing we want to see. Rally, okay, gets tired here a little bit. Here's the pull, and boom, boom, sweepers. Okay, so pretend this doesn't say Shack. This says SPY. This says Facebook. This is what we want to see. Okay, some may come in more before they see action. Some may just chop around up here. Very possible, right? No sellers. Just chop around like that. All right. But with earnings, we may get a little more of that pullback. We may have that luxury of seeing a little pullback. But the key is, for me, I want to see sweeper activity. Now, you could say, oh, well, Facebook caught sweepers all the way up. A pullback, that might be the window of opportunity with or without sweepers. That's where it's your call. That's where it's your call. Me, I want to see sweepers confirm, because what the sweepers tell me is that there's going to be some support here. You understand? Otherwise, I had nothing to base if these lows are going to get tested. Sweepers are telling me there's at least a bounce out of it that I could get a trade. Okay. And two things can happen. Either this rallies a new leg up here and you got that uptrend forming, right? Or what we spoke about, a couple day rally and then make another low and could be on the way to testing lows. But both options are profitable for you, regardless of how you look at it for a trade. So that's the logic behind it. All right. And I think that's the benefit to seeing the sweepers come in there. It increases the probability of that happening. All right. So that's shake. Again, forget the name and pretend it's any name you're looking at right now. That's what we're looking for. We did that. Oh, here's a name you guys might have an interest in. Anybody looking at this TME, the IPO? Anybody been watching this thing? I didn't know what the hell it was. Yeah, so TME, this is Tencent. Is this the Tencent? You know what I'm talking about? The China thing? Or no? What is this? Music? I don't know. This just came public, okay? So I had no idea. Honestly, when the action, there was a initial sweeper that came in, and I was like, what is this? This must be some like treasury play or something. Oh, it's like spot. Okay. So this was an IPO, and look at this. Selling right out of the gate. Okay. But you can see there's movement in this thing. All right. So this, in my opinion, is a must watch on any little breather here, especially into next week, because they plowed into this thing, as you can see by my headline, late day buying plows into recent IPO. Here's the action. February 13s, 4,300 of them, 2,400 plus February 16s, January 14s, they were playing the day, February 15s, February 14s. So they played like 4 or 5 different lines. Okay. Here was the top bet. And then sweepers around it. So here's an answer to a lot of questions I get from you guys. Well, Jesus, this was a block. Yeah, but you see this? Sweep, 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 sweep. I don't know, MJ. Is this a China name? This is not the Tencent we're thinking of. I don't know. Oh, China streaming music. It is? Oh, it is, MJ. Operates an online music entertainment platform that provides online music. So basically, this is Spot of China, correct? If I'm reading it right? It's a spin-off from the Tencent China. Got it. Thank you. There you go. That's all you need to know. JP Morgan put a buy on it. They probably did the underwriting, I'm sure. You might get more buy recommendations from the underwriters. They did. All right. So again, must watch. You know what this reminds me of, MJ? What was that? Stitch Fix, or what was that other IPO under like low-key IPO that caught action? Yeah, Stitch Fix, and there was another one too. It wasn't IQ. IQ wasn't an IPO. I'm trying to think. No, before it was a while ago. Anyway, not Dropbox. It was a low-key IPO and then just exploded, caught flow as soon as they started trading options. Whatever it is, keep an eye on it. You get a little breather, which can happen because you had a big move here, right? So you could get something like maybe this candle here, like just a bar here, sideways. Anything, look for action there, or you could just buy it off what we've seen already, if you like it enough. All right. Here, look, here's the intraday chart volume-wise. So there was a little bit of flow throughout the day. You could see a little bit, and then this was the bum rush at the end of the day. This is the stock price. This is implied vol. Look at implied vol. Whoop. All right, so keep, even a dip would be nice. Take out some juice if it takes out some juice out of it. All right, so that was one interesting. Let's see what else I got on here. IGT, guys, I know it's a dog. I know the whole story there. Trust me, I've been holding my SGMS leaps throughout this whole debacle, okay? But again, it goes back to everything I told you guys. This thing was caught, one of the first caught in the bear market tornado. It might at the least have a squeeze in it. Okay. And there was some really nice action that came in towards the end of the day. A lot of us day traded it. Several people in the room took a shot, used the cushion they had for a swing, even if they hold it a couple days to see if there's a follow through. All right, this is the intraday chart. Stock was doing Zippo, was red. That was the beauty of it. And then this action came into red, and she had, well, I think I made 40 cents net. It was like 65 cents the move from entry to the end of the day. No, not zero yet, MJ. Was on the course for it, I'll tell you that much. All right. Again, the first name for the bear market tornado to get the first group there. All right. So these are some of the orders there off private Twitter that a lot of you guys saw. Here's a sweep 1450. Where's she close? Yeah. Oh, wow. So a little more than I thought. 1450, 1536 it got up to. All right, 4 times expected. Earnings March 7th. So you see nothing to do with earnings. Squeeze sweepers. That's a great sign. All right. What was here's another indicator that I look at, by the way. Again, this is off the WordPress site. If any of you members want to go and take a peek. This is the premium indicator. And, we look for when players are getting sloppy, they don't care what they pay for protection, right? The Bears, they don't care what they pay for their puts, no matter how expensive they are. At the least, you see, well, this wasn't even that big of a spike, but you see a bottom and a rally, a squeeze. This one was the big one into the lows there. All right. So now here's my point, though. Okay, all that's washed out. It's washed out, as it should be off a squeeze like this. All right, but we look at that every day, and it's worth keeping an eye on. This summit sweeper action. Okay, I wanted to. Oh, look at this! I made a mistake. This is Thursdays, and I put Friday. I'm gonna have to correct that. A couple of other names that caught my eye during the week quickly. If I can remember them, I should have jotted them down. RH, she moved though Friday. I really like that order, as a lot of you know on private Twitter and in the room I mentioned. Caught a sweep into this. Okay, again, remember what we were looking at? Squeeze, right? You don't want to buy at the top of that squeeze. You want to see pullback, breather, and action. And RH caught a really good looking order. All right. So she's starting to move north. A couple of people are in it. I'm not in the swing, unfortunately. You believe I didn't even day trade this off this rally the last couple of days? Here, this thing went red to green, was a big move. And I don't know how I didn't play this thing Friday. Me and C-Train in the room were pulling our hair out of our head. I watched this thing rattle off $6-7, and I didn't own a lick. All right, so a pullback again, worth keeping an eye on. Yeah, that's the whole point, MJ. That's the whole point. Another name for you biotech fans, BCRX. I know this as the bird flu play. Anybody have any insight on this thing? This thing caught a cannon on Thursday. Are they going for any FDA approval or, I mean, what's the week? I remember this stock. You guys are going to laugh. I actually made a nice hit on this stock. It's got to be years now. Remember the bird flu? Do you guys remember that? They still talk about the bird flu. The bird flu names were catching action before that the bird flu hype came out. It wasn't really a big thing. And me and a couple buddies took a shot on this BCRX, and we made a nice score in like 3 days. BCRX has P2 data sometime in first quarter 2019. Interesting. So that's what you're going to have to deal with. But I'll tell you, the sweep was massive. $1 million order. $1 million order. And it was Thursday. This is an error I'm going to have to correct. This wasn't Friday sweepers. This is the order right here. So they bought, unless they did it again Friday. I got to double check that. But this was the order, one of the orders. 4,000 June. Oh, wait a second. This is not it. This is a different order. I didn't even see this order. June 21? No, that's it. That's it. $8 calls, 270. So big one there. Big one. All right. Anybody who likes to play biotechs and knows what they're doing, willing to lose their money if it goes wrong, but they're playing for a score. That's a really nice bet there that you can roll the dice on. All right. Hold on. Let me just think of what there were a couple other names I had, and then I'll get to your names. I can't remember. Maybe I'll remember as you. All right, throw your names out. Throw your names at me, and let's see. Yeah, Twilio Beast. Twilio. We love the Twilio. Honestly, Maria, and you know how I am, but I like it on into red. Anytime there's sweeper activity in Twilio into red, anytime. Because obviously now, you're talking about this thing's a beast. This thing's a beast. So, but she moves around. And that's why Maria's bringing it up. We saw action in this thing several times into intraday weakness, and she rattles off $2-3 like it's nothing. Yeah, great day trade. It's a great scalp and day trade name. Good call, MJ. You got some flow. Some of it was rolling, okay, but you got some flow coming in here. Actually, it came in, and this thing rolled over even more a bit here, it looks like. But you got some activity starting to perk up there in this eye. So I would definitely keep an eye, no pun intended, I'll keep an eye on action here, especially that you got a little more of a pullback. All right, but she's been in breather mode, MJ, ever since you were looking at it. Remember we were talking about breather? Finally caught that lengthy breather. Yeah, Bristol Myers has been great. That was the name I was trying to think of. Thank you, PSK. Most of you know the story there. Bristol Myers, you had the Celgene acquisition, right? Here's where they went nuts. Right into that gap down. And since that gap down, the flow hasn't stopped. You had a little pull and sideways action here. They annihilated it. And then they just, Friday again, tons of action. Here's the thing you got to watch out for now. Listen, and besides that, you're a little late to the party if you're looking for big move, okay? You don't want to get in the habit of that. That's what a lot of people are starting to do now, is climb the ladder, right? Buying the same name off continued action at higher levels. Okay, you don't want to do that. Now, I know there were a lot of you who bought Bristol Myers here and sold it here because you didn't realize that this squeeze was going to go on for this. All right? What are you going to do? It happens, Now, you can be tactical. Like a lot of us have been trading Bristol Myers, even on an intraday time frame. It's been red, and then it gets swarmed with sweeper activity. Okay? There's going to be some momentum in the stock, so it's worth a scalp or a day trade. But now at this point, if you're looking to buy it here, with earnings here, you got to be careful. All right? So you got this room to play with, And, if she does one of little of these things, which would be totally normal, you're kind of screwed time frame wise. But they've been buying, but Brent, they're buying April's, May's. Initially they were buying Febs, they were buying weeklies, they're buying everything, and some decent size too. All right. What you can do, the smart thing here now, okay, besides trying to catch and play the intraday momentum, the prudent thing to do is wait for earnings. And if she's down, if they want it, we already saw what it looks like when they buy it, right? If they want it, they're going to come right back again, like they've been doing. And that would be a sweet entry off earnings. Maybe she gaps up, and what are you going to do? That's the way the cookie crumbles. But that's the prudent play in Bristol Myers right now. Okay, because again, it's not initial activity up here. So you can't treat it the same. What are names? Goldman Sachs. Believe it or not, Goldman Sachs. A lot of us wanted weakness off earnings so bad in this thing. So bad. But you had Citigroup, JP Morgan. They were red. They bounced like Spaldings. So they weren't going to give us any gift. All right. March call sweeper activity into the strength in Goldman Sachs, and she keeps squeezing. For me, again, my style, same thing. Here, I don't like to chase this. I want what I showed you guys on all the other charts that I liked. Let it come in, let it breathe for a little bit, and especially if action comes into that. That's the way I look at these things. Okay, because here's the thing you got to weigh. All right, because a lot of you guys like to play momentum anyway, and everyone's got different styles. What you have to say to yourself, what you have to ask yourself at this point is, there's a higher probability of some sort of breather or pull coming here. Okay, the rally is already materialized. What are you looking for out of the trade here? Okay, because here's the thing: if you're looking to buy on Friday and you're looking for a follow through Monday and you're going to sell into it, then obviously it's not that big of a deal, right? But if that rally early next week, okay, if you bought Friday and you get another pop Monday, Tuesday, but that you're looking for more than that, then what happens? Thursday you get a pull, the start of a pull, like we're saying in the markets or whatever. So that's where your risk reward becomes skewed. It's not favorable, and that's the whole point of sentiment. You want to buy, like, for me, you see the charts. Like my favorite pattern for sweeper activity, because in my opinion, it's the best momentum indicator in real time out there. Okay, I may be biased, but that's just me. You get a name like IQ, okay, and we have been talking about this, it feels like, for ages. IQ has been going south, and we said, we just, some signs of some real sweeper activity coming in, not just one order, just some real signs of buying, and you get it down here, and this thing is going sideways like this, right? You're not catching a knife, so trying to form a bottom. All right, so you have that as a launching pad, and your reward is decent. That's what I like. Unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of that up until this squeeze, and this squeeze, they've all happened at once, unfortunately. But what are you going to do? There's still some stragglers out there. There's still some stragglers out there, like with the Stitch Fix. Okay, again, these options are in liquid. I'm just giving examples. All right, they may not be names you're interested in. I'm just giving you examples. Like you see down here, you get a pull, and then you get this. Like right here would be the perfect entry. The perfect entry. Even right here, she catches action. But now, you want to buy it after this day now. Now your risk reward is a whole different story there. A whole different story. All right, what other names you got? Yelp. Yeah, Yelp has seen some sharp activity for quite a bit. Yelp, the first signs of Sharpies was back here. I actually was in the April calls for a swing, and I sold it right into this niner, even though they were Aprils, because I had a nice move on them. And then you had a little bit of consolidation here, and the action starting to perk up a little bit. Not as much as here, but starting to perk up a little bit. All right. But the news, there's already news out there. What was it? Chatter on something, right? Who's looking to buy Yelp? There was somebody out there. Wasn't it a buyout or something? Oh, PE firm. Okay. Yep. So again, sharp action. But the news is a little old. The news is out there right now. The news is out there. So, but I mean, you got earnings coming up when? February? You got some room. I haven't seen any impressive activity. It's been more of a cheap spec action where we know it can catch better looking action, and maybe it comes. Maybe it comes. Definitely worth keeping an eye on off that sharp activity anyway. A CBOE, it caught an order, right? I didn't, honestly, Brent, I really didn't look too deep into it. There was something that turned me off on the order because I like the chart. Let me see, 1 second. There was something on the order that I saw. Maybe it was that implied vol or something. Hold on. But now that you bring it up, let's look at it because the chart looks good. Where is it? How come it's giving me, oh, it's because it's giving me CBOE on the marking. This is it right here, right, Brett? February 90s. That's not a bad order. That's not a bad order. I think what it was, Brent, implied vol off the trade went lower. And a lot of times when I see that, it could be a roll or something else involved. I think that's what turned me off. Not turned me off, but I wanted to see more action come in, and we didn't see it. But I'll look at it. I'll take a little deeper look at it, and I'll post on Twitter, Brent. All right. The spot, though, I agree with what you're looking at. Not a bad spot at all. A little gap up, but still off a nice pull. Looks like earnings February, so you have a little bit of room. A little bit of room, but I like that spot. I definitely like that spot. Yeah, IGT is, I mean, the definition of a spot. You know what I mean? Definition of a spot. All right, looks like the stock is going to new lows. And I mean, look at the volume even on the stock that came in. So my opinion, like if this is something you want to give a longer leash to, at least the risk reward's in your favor here. You know what I mean? It's in your favor here. You got upside here. This is basically the bottom. So it's like buying what was the name? Oh, like yeah, it's like buying the Bristol Myers on the gap down. It's like buying it right there. Tesla, the call buyer, no. The call buyer, there was something, it wasn't clean, or I wasn't sure it was clean. Interestingly enough, Tesla had put buying, but did we know they were coming out with earnings or guidance or whatever they came out with? Let me see something. Look here. This is, oh wait, this was the day of the poll. Let me see if I could, yeah. Here, this was one of them here. See this one? Like this was a nasty put sweeper right here. This is January 15th. That wasn't earnings Friday, right, on Tesla? Yeah, they lowered earnings, but it wasn't a predetermined date or something, right? Ah, wow. Because there was definitely, Tesla, the flow hasn't been too bearish. The flow was actually bullish up until recently. And then you could see, look, oh, that's a earnings play. Hold on. Where's the, oh, this was a block of puts. There was some put buying that caught my eye. This was the order in particular. Oh, here was the other one. Made 200 puts. That was the 14th. Jan 300 puts, right? Lotto puts. And then you had this one here. This was the one. We laid a lot of wood. Anyway, the call buy that uh somebody just mentioned to me is this one here. I couldn't tell if it was clean or not. The best action in Tesla, if you're looking on the call side, this size is fine, but you want to see more than one, you know, to have confidence. You want to see more than one. And Tesla does well off sweeper activity when they come after it, you know. And the thing about more than one, you hear me saying that again, it's not only that aggressive nature when it's more than one, okay, but it's also gives you the confidence that it's not just some short protecting his gains per se, you know. You want to see that aggressiveness no matter what, and that's multiple orders. Ani Kron, again, we've been talking about this name a lot. Out of all the weed names, by far, this one sees the best action. I don't know why. I don't know the reasoning. I have no idea. Usually, it's the bigger names that catch the better action. This Kron catches sweeper activity. No comparison compared to the other ones. Yeah, they got hot again, MJ. They got hot again. You got CGC, which had a nice move here. She'll catch sweepers, but not like Kron. Like Kron on Friday caught like 6 sweepers, 7 sweeps. You know? The big one is this one you're thinking of, MJ. TLRY, which has been going the other way. Yeah. They had a lockup ended or whatever, something to that effect. NBev, that's the drink, right? That catches action too. NBev. Yeah, she looks good. She looks good. You know, this NBev doesn't look bad at all for a spec play anyway. I mean, it reminds me of a Bitcoin play for crying out loud, but it catches action. It's a drink you can get zooted off of. Unbelievable. Yep. CCJ, some big action. Camco. I don't know if Alex, you're in the room or on private Twitter. The CCJ actually does okay off action, but here's the thing. And I think it was late last week it caught action, the size action. Just looking at a chart, you could see this thing is choppy as all hell. And you don't, private Twitter. You don't want to chase, even off action, okay? You don't want to buy after the move, okay? If anything, you wait for the pulls, and even if you're early like this, you're better off, okay? Because this thing is known for this choppiness. You know, always. Here, big gap up, push higher, then you get this, right? So even if you bought it early, okay, you still were in better shape because just as she goes down, she comes right back. And, you know, there's been action in this. There was some size action late last week. And it looks like you're getting a little pull here. You know? So see where, you know, pick a spot, see where it comes in. Maybe you get another round of action as confirmation. But regardless, off a pull, I like it better than, you know, buying into these Niners like this. Yeah, that's another thing about these Niners. Okay, especially these red Niners on the dailies, they don't work as much as a lot of people may have you think they work. But I like them because I don't want to buy red Niners anyway. I rather wait for some pullback or consolidation. So it's just a quick glance and gives you an answer to where, I want to buy a name or not. So if I see like a Niner here, I say to myself, all right, I got to give this thing some time, let it come in. All right, so that's CCJ big action. It's coming in, and that's what I would be looking for if you're interested in the name. What yeah, we had a whole webinar without talking Netflix. I think because it already did what it had to do. I mean, Netflix went into actually Netflix and Facebook, right? They were the two names to see sweeper activity, the first ones. And I mean, the pullback is not even much considering this. Look at this. So see, same thing like Netflix. See a red here, Niner. Even though it went higher for a couple days, this is still not a spot I want to initialize a new position in. But I mean, this pullback off a move like this, off earnings, that's nothing. That's nothing. So maybe we get a little digestion, like we've been saying, right? The rip and then the first pull or consolidation. You're looking for that same Netflix action that came in. That was impressive action that came in there. Impressive action. Caught a lot, maybe MJ, caught a lot of sweeper activity, and that's what you want to see. So again, Facebook, Nvidia, like how much action did Nvidia catch? Caught a lot of action. Caught a lot of action. So Nvidia, if you remember, caught the action at the perfect spot, right off a Niner. Here was the Niner, right off the bottom there, and for Nvidia was slow, right? Very like not choppy, but intraday fades like this, right? She poked up high and then would give back the gains and discourage everybody. But net, really nice move. Really nice move. Now, I see like some people asking about Nvidia. Again, for me, Brent, I can't do it here. I can't do it here. This was the spot to take a shot. And it's always the toughest spot. But this is where you want to get used to. This is what you want to get used to buying. This is what you want to get used to buying. Now, if you're looking at Nvidia here, the same thing we've been saying. You had a little bit of a pullback here. And if you say to yourself, oh, if you see some flow there for a trade, but I'm talking about for looking for another leg like this, you want to see something like this. And then the action heat up. And then you got a secondary entry. You know what I mean? But to me, the initial activity here, right here, that's the best spot. And always, when you see it in bunches, always bodes well for the market. Always. Because up here, there's a lot of rolling. You know what I mean? You can't be as confident up here off the action. Because all these buyers down here, that's what they do. Roll up, out, roll up, roll up, out, roll up, But when you first, and Nvidia was one of, like, it wasn't even, you didn't have to question. It was pretty obvious action, right? I mean, anybody in the room or on private Twitter knew Nvidia was catching aggressive sweeper activity. Even when a lot of the other market, the rest of the market was slow to develop. Facebook was one that would even catch it on days where there was no sweeper activity to be found. A couple times. I mean, a couple different stages. had a nice move. But same thing. Like I can't, for me, I can't even day trade it now here, you know? And there's day trading opportunity because she still moves red to green and stuff like that. But for me, this is long in the tooth to the point where I can't even day trade it right now. You got to be careful for the reversals. That's what you got to watch at this point here. You know, you get, oh my God, there goes Facebook again, up 3. And then you get the riffraff chasing the +3. And then before you know it, they go to lunch, they come back, she's down 2. And then you go, what? Was there news? What happened to Facebook? Anybody have any news on Facebook? But it was just, sellers, people taking profits. Not only off the squeeze, you got to understand, people own Facebook and have been stuck in it this whole way down, So at some point when the momentum starts to slow up, you're going to see a lot, exactly, overhead supply. You may not see it initially off the squeeze because that's new buyers, right? And people getting squeezed. But up here, you start to see those reversals. It's just, I've had more success in my career, again, at the initial spots. And if I miss it, I miss it. And a lot of times I miss on upside. There's more upside there if you can be tactical, if you can be quicker, if you're not getting greedy. But it keeps me more disciplined when I just stay away from stuff that has gotten too stretched out like that. And the banks too now. I see some of you guys mentioning banks. I played the JP Morgan off the earnings. It wasn't any spectacular flow. I was kind of eyeing it off any flow off earnings. There was weakness that was here, right? Yeah, here. All right, so that would have been the spot. Like this is what we're talking about to look for in a lot of names right now. Squeeze, right? And you get a little bit of a breather here, a little consolidation. And this squeeze wasn't that big, little lift, consolidation into weakness, sweeps, and you get lift. So, but you don't want to buy it here now. You don't want to buy it here because you could get caught in at least something like this or more. And if, depending on what strikes you're in, options, it could be costly. So the best risk reward comes from the setups. J&J, yeah, you have earnings. That's going to be a lot of interesting earnings. You never hear me talk about that, right? I'm telling you, this is one. Remember, Ani, I told you this at the beginning of earnings season. Well, this is an earnings season. Okay, and those of you who know me can relate. I haven't been so interested in an earnings season in such a long time as I am in this one. I don't care, like companies warn, they report, a lot of people like to play the gaps. During earnings season, I like to run away, run in a different direction. This earnings season, I really want to be on top of everything, especially the ugly stuff. Dollar strength can hurt. J&J, you talking about PFD? Yeah, well, what about that asbestos thing? Are they going to mention that at all? That was this here, fake news, fake news. But that was this here. So if you get a lift on that negative news, you might get a squeeze there. But PFD, this is, again, off any earnings weakness, a must watch for sweeper activity. No? Yeah, that's my opinion. My opinion, without a doubt. If you're looking even for a swing trade, J&J, you don't even have to be too picky. You see some half-decent sweeper activity come into red. Whether or not it works out, you can't control that, but you're going to have a nice entry. Yes, Ani, you just hit the nail on the head. We throughout our whole relationship, Ani, I know you a long time. We always talk about the post-earnings flow telling the true colors, right? And we want to see weakness even better. I think now more than ever, that's the case here, because you have a lot of institutional money, a lot of eyeballs out there. You got to understand, okay? There's a lot, whatever measure you use, there's a lot of cheap, the market's cheap right now, okay? And I'm not talking about P ratios or anything like that. You got a big discount from where we were just a couple months ago in this market. And a lot of the smart money just wants to see how much of this negative news, because there's a lot of it, is factored in. Okay. But the key is we all know it's going to be bad news. You don't understand what kind of luxury that is. The surprises, right? When you get surprised by bad news, that's where you see things blow up. That's where you see things blow up. Yeah, bad news, it really is good news right now. Okay? Because again, this is why the market's been doing this. If you remember what the pundits and the CNBC folk were saying off this pullback. Whoa, the fundamentals are good. Earnings are great. We had the best earnings quarter since the dinosaur age, you know? You got to buy this dip. Earnings, there's nothing wrong. This market, it's just a correction, just a little pullback, as they were annihilating things the whole year. Okay? So now you're seeing all the reasons why this has been going on. All right? And when you see that reversal, when you see weakness and negative news being bought, that's the market telling you, we know this already. Okay? This may be, we're closer to the end of the negative news cycle now. And that's when you see those reversals. All right, because that's the telling sign. Just like the market going down on good news, doesn't matter. The market's telling you that the good news is a facade. You're looking backwards. It means nothing, the good news. Right? We were even seeing names that were reporting good earnings sell off. Remember at the beginning? Yeah. So now we're going to see the opposite. And there may be stuff, guys, that we don't see the opposite. Doesn't mean everything is factored in. All right. But when you see the banks act like they do off bad earnings, when you see a name like this, like I told you, PPG, act like that off earnings, when you see, if we see this MHK, which is the epitome of what we're talking about, okay, when they report this quarter, all right, if this thing turns around and reverses, that's a huge sign from the market. Look what it's done, okay? Look what it's done here. Look at this. Look at this quarter. Devastation. Look at this. One quarter. Here's the next quarter. So you got 4 quarters in a row. This thing got massacred off all 4 quarters, all 4 earnings announcements. All right? And go look at the earnings. Go look at the earnings. You won't believe your eyes. Look, it's even showing here for the quarter, okay, for this quarter, you know what the estimates are? $2.45 for the quarter. They might report 0, Paul. You know what I mean? So, when you see this gap down on earnings and, you're saying, oh, well, this company's still trading at a small multiple and the earnings are bad, but they're still earning XYZ. The market was telling you that number is fake news. Forget that number. Forget that number. And now this quarter, we're likely to see a bad number, and then maybe you get that reversal, and that tells you that the worst is over, at least for like the next couple quarters, not for the next 10 years, but the next couple quarters. So those are the signs we want to see. Again, Lennar, that was a perfect example. A perfect example. I mean, I don't know if you guys paid attention to the Lennar earnings. You had to see some of the bullets that came out of there. They were suicidal on that conference call. They were suicidal. I'm serious. Paul, you know what they were saying? It's so bad, guys, we can't even give guidance anymore, guys. That's what they said, Lennar. It's so bad out there. We can't even see the damage. That's how bad it is. We can't give guidance anymore. Okay? The stock was down pre-market, ended up +5 on the day. So that's, and off a little lift here. Off a little lift. So those are the signs we want to see there. Those are the signs we want to see, and they make good trades over the short term. They make good trades. Yeah, Netflix, here's the thing too. It'll be interesting because some of the tech names, especially the software names, their earnings haven't deteriorated yet. And maybe they won't, maybe they won't. A lot of people say software, even in the slowdown, they do well and stuff like that. Yeah, Lennar had big time bets into the lows. And you know what the problem is though, Alex? And I own Lennar. The problem is that when the home builders even coming out, the rally's still stubborn. It's something over time you see them, like, I'll give you an example. Where's a nice, this is like consolidated, but I'll tell you what I mean by that. You get a lot of like up and down and choppiness. It's almost like if you're going to buy Lennar, right? You buy it off the $1 million sweeps. Make sure you have enough time, right? You're buying weakness and try not to pay attention to it. Okay? Because if you look at it, you'll get shaken out until they get hot at some point. And that's what kind of happened here. If you remember, I actually traded Lennar and then I bought it back again, if you guys remember, because I wanted to own at least a home builder. And I'm going to leave this position alone now. The other one too, Beazer, I bought that. Look, it's already higher than where I sold it. I got lucky, that gap, I sold it into that. I thought I was a hero with a lot of time too, and now she's had a nice move. This one's been the best one. Right? Pulte? Yeah, I think Pulte, right? It's been pulling here a couple of days. But this one has been the best one, holding up the best. But there are a lot of them. MTH, this caught a little action. You got that little double bottom there. We'll see what happens. But housing's a mess, too. Housing's in bad shape. Housing's in bad shape. Let me ask you a question. You guys aren't, the one group that I'm most excited about are the semis. Forget like home builders and all that stuff. Because if you catch a turnaround in the semis, oh my God, there's no better group to own. There's no better rally to be a part of than a rally in the chip stocks. Trust me. They become monsters. Monsters. Do you guys remember? Okay, you probably remember LRCX during that monster semiconductor rally? You want to talk about a beast? This thing was a ferocious beast. Look at this move. Can you guys even make it out? Let me put on the line. You guys could see it better. Oh, the hell did I do there? Monster. Absolute monster. Look at this. Okay? And that's what I mean. Like, you'll hear people call for the death of the semiconductors. The longer you're around in this business, I had to hear the death of the chip stocks, probably I would say 50 times over the course of my career. And each and every time, they've rallied back to new highs like you've never seen. Look at this LRCX. Now, the trick is sometimes some of them get left behind. All right. But that's where, price action and flow and the other things you look at, what comes into play. You know what I mean? Like an LRCX, I'm sure during one of the corrections wasn't a leader per se, but then became one. You know what I mean? And then look at this move, though. Look at this move. So, this is just another cycle in the semis, if you ask me. It may not be over yet. Who knows? But it will at some point. And these things are going to be, they're the best things to own. Trust me. Best things to trade, best things to own. You buy weakness, you're green in seconds. They move so nice. They move so nice. They move so nice. So, like, a lot of buddies that I worked around, like, they are probably even more excited than I am. They really think there's at least an intermediate term bottom in the semis. And the reason they think that is because nobody thinks that. The news is the news around the semis is as bad as you're going to get. I mean, Apple warned, for Christ's sake, right? You don't get much worse than that. You don't get much worse than that. NVIDIA is in the grave, for crying out loud. Literally. Stock was 300. Got down to what? 110, 115? Okay. Maybe they chop around down here, find a bottom, but like my buddies are excited because that's what they're, and that's the beauty of coming out of bear markets and corrections. If it's over and you have the bullets and you're still around, okay, if you're still around to take advantage of rallies that come out of it, you are early in things like this. Okay, listen, I'm not trying to get too excited here. I'm not talking about we're on the verge of this or right now, but I'm just saying, that only comes out of corrections, that only comes out of corrections. You don't even need that. This thing rallies, 50% of that pull, and you got nice winners. Yes. Oh, that's what I didn't post, George. SWKS caught action. It did. You got earnings. Here's my opinion, George. There's, off the top of my head, you got a couple semis that are, again, a must-watch off earnings. SWKS, without a doubt. LRCX, they were one of the first chip stocks to go south. They were the first sign that the chip rally was over here. Okay? They're reporting here, coming up, Jan 23rd. Has been seeing a little call activity, but I don't even care about that yet. I want to see the reaction off earnings and look at that as an opportunity. You know what I mean? So if you see it down, don't brush it off. It's even more reason to watch it. And there's another one, TXN. Some big time size into the liquidation phase in December. Big time size. All right, and you got, and this is a beast, TXN. This is a beast. Look. Again, all you got to do is take a couple steps back in this market, and this correction, you know what I mean? You can see the big picture. Look at some of these moves from that 2016 Bazooka Joe bottom. Look at it. Look at this move. This is normal. Totally normal. You can't do this for another 2 years. You'll have stocks at $5,000 a share. And it becomes easy money, too easy for riffraff. So basically you got this one too. This one they announced on the 20. Go ahead, MJ. I'll talk to you soon. This was the 25th. All right, TXN. But any semi you like, you could keep an eye on. Again, any name you like, any name. What about anybody else? NXPI, I think Zitch was watching in the room. Same thing. Look, same thing. You got a little double bottom here. So, and that's why, not to jump around, but if we could get that pull, okay, and we don't have to test the lows, but just a pull, just something like this eventually. And then you got that 2016 Bazooka Joe low setup. And, we haven't seen a Bazooka Joe moment. We haven't seen it. It's been more of those squeeze momentum type sweeps, some decent size selectively out there, but far from Bazooka Joe. That may still be coming. That still may be coming. Like, for example, 2015. Okay, and I'm not saying it works out. I'm just giving you an idea of what happened there. 2015, there was no Bazooka Joe here. And look at this rally. Okay, Bazooka Joe came on this flush. So he's still lurking out there. He's still lurking out there. Cat. That's another thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap it up. Again, just a couple of things to keep us occupied for ultimately a little pullback here is what we want. I don't know if you guys, PSK, if you paid attention, I'm sure, Caterpillar, you had this semi-aggressive sweeper activity in cat calls, Jan calls, okay, Jans. And I look at Cat, Cat doesn't have earnings. This is last week now. Cat doesn't have earnings to January 28th. So I'm saying, we were saying in the room, who's sweeping Cat Jan calls out of all things? Like what, for what reason? What catalyst? I mean, could it be trade war stuff? But lo and behold, that's what they did, right? The trade war headlines. And then you got to move like that. So, point being is keep an eye on, maybe PSK, keep an eye on some of the spec action, treat it as spec action. Okay, a couple of guys got shaken out of the Cat, unfortunately, and the next day it popped, but, keep an eye on the spec action and treat it as spec action. But there's some interesting activity out there that is not catching earnings that, may be playable, for quick moves. But PSK, the way I would treat Cat, same thing, earnings. I know I've been saying that a lot, but I would just watch it off earnings. Again, may not catch flow, but that's your call. But if you see weakness off earnings and you like Cat, that's the spot. Like CSX, I was hoping to see some flow. There wasn't any flow into the earnings weakness. Let me put the thing. This is not really showing the intraday. You see? Look at this. Here's the earnings. Oh, this was the earnings? No, this was the earnings right here. I don't know if you guys make that out. All right. So look, dip, and look where she closed. And then bink, follow through the next day. All right. And doesn't this look familiar? Like this is a setup we're seeing all over the place. Wash, squeeze, earnings, weakness, bought, pop, goes the weasel. So any names you guys are eyeing that fits the bill like this, just again, watch the earnings and hope for weakness. Could be a real nice entry. Fast. That's Fastenal, right? I haven't looked at that name in a while. Wow. Look at that. Oh, earnings. Wow. Was that down at all, PSK? Or just straight up? Wow. So PSK saying, just like the others, he was hoping for weakness off earnings, and they didn't give it to them. Yeah, that, I mean, what are you going to do? That's the risk, right? That's the risk. Jesus. And how were their numbers, by the way? I mean, were they better than expected, or they were bad, not as bad type of thing? Yeah. So, yep. That's why again, not but look, see what it says here? Uh well, this is, who knows. Estimate 60 cents. They came in below estimate. Maybe they weren't as bad as they thought it would be. But look how quick this thing came back now. Yeah, almost at highs. Jesus. Jesus. Revenues beat barely. That's why I'm telling you guys, earnings are extremely important now, more than ever. Not just as an earnings play, big picture wise. And then you get the again, like I mentioned earlier, the software names that I'm interested to see, because they were the ones that, again, their numbers haven't deteriorated. I'll give you an example. Coop, all these names, okay? COUP. They announced an unbelievable quarter in the into the depths of the correction. The stock had a pop and then got swept under the rug. Be good, PFD. I'll see him Tuesday. No casino Monday. This one had an incredible order earnings quarter, the Coop, and got lost in the correction. And look, they're already ramping it for another big quarter. But you got a lot of software names that are, look, ZS. You guys remember this Zscaler, ZS? Look how good all these things look. I'm curious to see how they treat them off earnings. MJ, you remember this one, MJ? I think you might remember it. PDD. Yep. So you had the wash here. Yeah, look at it. Creeping back. Ready to go to new highs any minute. There's a lot of good looking software names. Even CRM, right? Beast. Look at it. Right back. What do you guys think? Just out of curiosity. Maria, what do you think? What do you think about these software names into earnings? You think they sell them off like they did the team? You know what I mean? Like they've already factored in good news, or it's a tough call though. Yeah, on a lot of these like hot software names, flawless, right? That's the thing. They got to come out with a perfect number, like Maria's saying. Otherwise, you got to believe there'll be some profit taking. They all look incredible though. Yep, it's the only sector. I don't know of another sector that um is going in with high expectations, and names. All these names are a spit away from new highs. Every single one of them. How about retail? That's another interesting one. Retail. Lulu skip to my Lou. She's skipping. Yeah, that's. I think that's the problem, Maria. There's so much good factored in. I almost feel like we missed the boat, but I see these things going higher every day. You know what I mean? The price action has been incredible. So that's what I'm kind of like. I don't have the feel there. I really don't know. But some of these retail names are worth keeping an eye on. They MJ. It's funny you mentioned that. Lulu supposedly now they got men's pants, work pants, work pants. I don't comfortable work pants, but whatever it is, I got a good name for you guys. Ready for this? Remember this thing caught flow? Crocs? Explain this to me. Somebody explain this to me. Crocs. Fossil. I haven't looked at. Oh, Fossil had rumors they were going to sell off their that watch division. That actually looks pretty decent down here. Oh yeah, Boot. That's another one I'm kicking myself in the ass about. Real nice action in this Boot. Right into the lows, right here. Sharp action too. You know, it's funny you mentioned that, MJ. The discount retailers, initially I thought they were going to hold up better than they have, but they've been coming back. This TJX, ROST, KSS, they all look starting to look better now. DLTR actually had news, and that's looked good. So they all look good. I thought they were going to outperform, but then we got hit with that liquidation into the holidays. But all these names look solid. Big. This is discount retail, Maria? Yeah. Big Lots. I've heard of them. I heard of them. Yes, this does look interesting. The Boot is the one I'm kicking myself in the rear end. You know, the Flow was enough for me to take a shot. You know, a name like this doesn't catch Flow like that. Boot. Who the hell buys Boot? Bull combos in size, risk reversal. Yeah, I know. Definitely e-liquid. And you're going to see the size that came into it. Has to be e-liquid, MJ. Has to be. Yeah, so we got a lot of, you could sense the excitement in my voice probably. BBB, I thought that had a good earnings thing, no? Yeah, they had a positive reaction out of earnings. BBBY. So Maria's talking about some Nike Flow. There was Nike Flow on Friday. That's had a nice little move here. I'm trying to think of anything else. Goose has been stuck. Haven't seen much of any action in Goose lately. But like I said, you could probably sense the excitement in my voice. A lot of names to keep an eye on, more than enough. And so we got some stuff to keep us busy. So even as the market consolidates, even if there's like a pull, we got the earnings plays, on weakness to entertain us and make a little money with. All right. Well, yeah, Faye. I haven't looked at Faye. How's Faye doing? The cybersecurity names. Oh, wow. Jeez. So there's still, you still got some decent setups out there, Maria, right? Still got some decent setups. And some of the other ones, you just need a little pull. That's all you need. CMG, oh boy. That's some rip. Wow. Wow. I don't follow this stock too much. It doesn't catch a lot of flow once in a blue moon. But that's some rip. All right, guys. As always, look, I always look forward to talking to you guys on a Saturday. We got a long weekend. Unfortunately, Monday, no casino. Unbelievable what they do to us. I'm going to start trading Bitcoin just out of principle because Bitcoin is open 24/7 and doesn't give a shit about holidays. That's what the market should. I don't understand these holidays. What's the holiday got to do with the market, for crying out loud? Has nothing to do with it. Every casino, every race, everything's open. Why is the market closed? Let people from the floor stay home. We got the computers now anyway. These guys are impossible. But Monday, we have a short week. That comes into play. You got a short week on the weeklies and everything else. One less day. But we'll see what happens. All right, we got some things to look at going into next week. Anybody who's new to the webinar, if you're a little confused on the terminology or curious, just go to wallstreetjesus.com. You'll find your answers there. Thank you, guys. MJ, good talking to you. Everybody, Maria, Paul, have a good weekend, PSK. and I'll see everybody Tuesday. Be good, everybody.